bow our head in prayer, please. Dear Father, thank you for life yourself. Thank you, you bless the city council tonight, help them make the right decisions for the city of Darlington, and bless all the citizens of Darlington. And we thank you for this beautiful day. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. We have to pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes on July 2nd, 2019 council meeting. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the July 2nd, 2019 council meeting.
I'll second.
It's a motion and second that we receive the approval of the minutes of July 2nd, 2019 council meeting. All in favor? Let me know the sign aye. Ladies have the same right. Thank you. Now, motion for the approval of the meeting agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve it absent one item. I noticed that we have an item 8C that is on the agenda, but we did not receive any information on 8C prior to the meeting. It just got put out, so I would approve the agenda without 8C. Just carry that over to the next time.
Take the minutes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor of the motion?
I'll second that.
Second, okay. All in favor of the motion to take out 8C until the next time? Let me know the sign aye. Ladies have the same right. Okay, Ms. Lisa Robb.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you for everyone who came out to the DERA's Bringing Downtown Alive concert series in July. We had a record crowd. The stage was rearranged, and everybody, it was a good time had by all. We had a great crowd show up to welcome home the Rick Strickland Band, which has two members of its group are from Darlington. Lisa Hudson, the lead singer, lead female singer. She's won multiple awards for her singing and writing, so everybody enjoyed that. Also had great support from the Darlington Cruisers in their car show, and a special thank you to American Legion Post 13 for their support. They came out with quite an army of volunteers to help us. Race Week is coming up in Darlington, and that will start with the Darlington Car Haulers Parade and Race Fest on the public square at 6 o'clock on Thursday, August 29th. The car haulers go through at 7, and then the Race Fest continues from 6 to 10. Then Friday night, come downtown to listen to Bill Rivers and the Bonding Company perform at the DERA's next free Bring Downtown Live concert from 7 to 10. Then Saturday night, after the VFW Sports Clips 200, come downtown for the Southern 500 Parade, which will follow the regular parade route that goes from the square to down Pearl Street to Fitness World. Then Sunday, head to the track Too Tough to Tame for the Bojangles Southern 500. We have a great week for folks that are coming into town for Race Week. Businesses, individuals, civic groups, and churches are invited to join the DERA as members. They can give me a call at my office or send me an email, and that contact information is there in your information. We feature our members' news, employee recognition, sales, new products, special hours, and other events with people interested in Darlington, as well as TV stations, radio stations, and newspapers through our text and email news alert system. And anybody can sign up for that news alert system by going to www.buildupdarlington.org. Our next monthly members breakfast will be 8 a.m. Wednesday, August 28th, which is Race Week, at Takis Diner. It's free for members and $5 for all others. It's a great time to share your news and connect with other businesses in town. There is one other event, and I've included the press release in there. Ms. Backus knows about this event already, because she's part of the organizing factor of it. But the Darlington Memorial Cemetery Association is organizing a community cleanup day beginning at 6 a.m. on Saturday, August 17th at the cemetery on D Avenue. So if anybody has some time that morning to come out and help It's a historic site, and it's certainly something that we could really capitalize on with the other historic elements in the city.
Lisa, I have a question. Just noticed an old note that Miss Darlington USA pageant had been scheduled for the 17th. Is that still on?
Yes, the Miss Darlington USA pageant will be held at Trinity Burns Collegiate School, which is in Darlington County.
Yeah.
And they are a member of the DRA, and it will be at 7 o'clock that evening in their gymnasium. Any other questions?
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Anybody here from DRA? I mean, Greater Darlington Chamber of Commerce? Being none, we'll move on. So what should you speak, Ms. Rose Pruitt, flooding? You may come at this time for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. I know y'all seen me before, you've seen my duck, I've had to put him back out. I don't think for an instant that I'm the only area that floods in town. I'm aware that these big storms have caused some problems. However, again, I've got 2 feet of water at the end of my driveway. I can't get in or out of it. I've got water lapping at the siding that I recently replaced because of this flooding damage. It's lapping at the siding on the bottom of my house. We've got that VacTruck. Pay a lot of tax money for it. I don't know how often it gets used, but it doesn't get used often enough. They came out, did a little bit of work on the storm drain in front of my house, but nobody ever came back to finish the job. You may have dug out a few extra buckets of sand and made a little bit more capacity there, but the job's not finished until it goes all the way through that drain. Now this is a block on the city stormwater plan that was omitted. My neighbors and I have located the missing section of storm drain that's clogged. It runs for about 4 lots from across the street from me down to Edwards Avenue. And that line could be cleaned out really easily with that VacTruck. It's got access points, about 3 or 4 of them. And it's just something that has been overlooked as far as that goes. Now, again, it's not just my property that's flooding, it's all my neighbor's property. And it's escalating now. We've got cars stalling out in front of the house. We've got crazy people trying to go 100 miles an hour and hydroplaning through there. And this time, one of my neighbors or somebody tried to drive around the flooded street, and they're going down the sidewalk. That's not just a safety issue. That's also damaging city property because they're driving across our water meters. They're hitting, they're right there beside fire hydrants and stuff like that. So I hope that you will send that VacTruck back out there. I hope that you've got somebody to operate it. It needs to be out there every day. It's hurricane season again. I mean, we're all just one flood away from getting washed away, but I'm getting pretty tired of the damage to my property. I know a lot of other folks in the city are too, because like I said, I am aware that I'm not the only area that floods, but it is getting bad again. So I hope that the city can find some way to follow through with what they started before. And then Mr. Urban came out to see if he could locate a line that went off towards Tedder Street. Nothing ever came of that. So aside from that initial blast where they probably cleared out about 20 or 50 feet, we've had no further action on that. And it's really not going to help unless it gets cleared all the way out. You can't just dig a hole and wait for it to fill back in.
Mr. God, do you know why the VacTruck will go back out?
Let's check it tomorrow.
Have to check it tomorrow and see what's going on. You said they did something else to it. They came out and kind of dug it out a little bit and didn't come back and finish it up.
Right. Well, and again, I mean, we're starting in the middle of an area that needs to run all the way to the creek or wherever it drains to.
You said you had someone to outline or map out the drain line of what's clogged.
Oh,
That
well,
was-
it wasn't included in the stormwater plan. That was the
Right,
plan.
yeah.
I don't know what the date on that was. They just left the whole block out, talked about what a big flooding problem it was, and then didn't bother to map the stormwater features.
Okay, so
But what we found was that in that 4-lot area, we found the storm drain. They couldn't locate it before because it was so filled in. But we located it because there are 2 or 3 manhole covers that are easily accessible, and
So-
open them up, blast that right through.
And when you say we, I wanted to know who,
My neighbors.
oh, so it was just you guys. Okay.
Okay.
I wanted to, I'm interested in because I'm asking for, to see if our departments that's responsible for all of that, if we come out there, do they have to know where to do this, to be able to alleviate some of this problem, to keep coming to one area? So if you've been able to outline, I need that information to be with our department that really does
Right.
do this.
Right, and you know, it's something that these manhole covers were there all along. Nobody had noticed them before because they had a lot of sand had covered them up. I guess, you know, just kind of buried them and just happened to be kicking one. There's another one in somebody's driveway. It's real obvious, so it's just a.
Question I
So-
had, we originally came out there, I know, and then we purchased a camera and root cutting abilities, which I think we had talked about. Has anybody come out there since?
No.
You know, and here's what I wanted to add to Howard, has this information that she's providing have been given to Mr. Kinsol's department so they can do what they can do? Has it been given to them so they'll know?
We just found out about it tonight.
Oh,
Well, I talked to Mr. Kinsall about it at one of the earlier meetings, so it is something that they knew about, but I mean, it's not a regular during office hours complaint kind of thing, so, you know, whether or not, you know, that went in one ear and out the other, I don't know. But the thing is, that's an expensive truck, that's some expensive equipment. It does a good job, but it only does it when somebody uses it. That truck should be out there every day because Darlington is drowned.
It is, it needs to be used, reason why I pushed for the cutter and the camera, because roots were going in the, sewer line. And so if it's not being used, it's no good to the citizens.
That's right. Looks good on shelf though.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
well, Mayor, can you find out why it's not being used? I mean, I didn't know it wasn't being used.
I thought it was being used too.
Let's kind of straighten that out.
We
since
find
that's-
out like that. Diana? Bloody.
Mayor, thank you. Yes, ma'am, I am. Council, I thank you too. Much the same as Rose Pruitt, we are renovating the property at 368 West Broad Street, which is the corner of Broad and Edwards, which is 2 doors down from Rose Pruitt's. And we, as she, are experiencing some horrific problems, and it is simply because, again, this area of town is some of the worst flooded area of town, and it was completely left off the master plan, and I have a hard time understanding how that happened when there was such a discussion about it to begin with. While Rose Pruitt and some of the neighbors tracked down where these drain lines are, didn't y'all pay engineers to do that job? And the reason you don't have that information is because the engineers didn't come down through there, and that's citizens researching something that engineers were paid to research. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, but clearly the city of Darlington paid for this job to be done properly. Not just in our street, not just in our neighborhood, but in every neighborhood in this city, which is flooding so badly that most recently the news media has taken it up again and made Darlington look badly on television, which is not something that this city needs when everybody's trying to pull it up. We don't need that. We have a $500,000 piece of equipment parked. We flood every time we get more than an inch of rain. The storm drain by our house at the Edward Street side is less than 2 feet from the top, full of dirt, grass, and trash. For 3 weeks prior to this week past, the lid has been off that drain, inside of the drain, and as I pointed out when I went over to the proper department and spoke with the young lady, that drain frame is so far out of the ground that an adult, much less a small child, walking down that street, which they do on a daily basis, day and night, is going to get hurt. Who is going to fix that? Who's going to fix that? But because that drain is so full of sand and dirt and trash and grass, our property is flooding. Now, that house is the corner of the neighborhood, and we're doing everything we can to renovate that property. Scott and I both work full-time jobs. He works excessive amounts of hours, so every chance we get, we're on that property making the necessary renovations, and every time it rains, our property floods. And just like Rose Pruitt, the work we're doing is being destroyed slowly but surely, because we've got a $500,000 piece of equipment sitting in a parking lot somewhere not getting used. And I don't know why either. I'm confused about that. But I don't think that the priorities in this cleaning, using the VacTruck, were laid out the way they needed to be done. I know the entire city needs to be addressed, but from Main Street, down Broad Street, down Edward Street was completely left off the plan. How does something like that happen? And at this point, I just ask you with the greatest degree of respect, how do we fix that? From here forward, how can we fix that, Mayor? Because it is hurricane season. And the rain we've experienced over the last 3 to 4 months is nothing like what we're fixing to experience. And if we don't address this problem right now, Rose and I are not the only ones who are going to be standing in front of you crying.
Mr. Garland directs them as to where to go. And Mr. Garland, when you check on it, I didn't go back to truck. I've seen it. I think I saw it today someplace. But I mean, I thought it would be used on a continuous basis every day. And that was one reason for getting the camera, because some places when they go in and suck out the water, they go and dump it. But then if it rains, another downpour comes, it backs up again. And so that's why we got the cutter and the camera, so we can go down and look. And
Yes,
it's not
ma'am.
being used, it's not doing the citizens any good. So we need to work on that.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
need to get this clear. The stormwater master plan that are you talking about the project that we're just finished completing? Are you talking about something else?
The entire stormwater master plan for
Okay.
what was
Oh, okay.
supposed to be repaired and cleaned out.
No, I'm not.
If you're through with that,
No, no.
you completely
So that-
missed us.
It was never, yes,
You're
that,
not
but
on that program.
that the project that we have just completed,
I don't think you're talking about Southwest Darlington.
So we have a
she's
project
not,
line.
so that's what I wanna
Yeah, I don't
get
think she's
clear.
talking about Southwest Darlington project.
You're
I'm
talking
talking
about,
about the stormwater master plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
not the
ma'am.
project that we're talking
No,
about.
ma'am.
Okay, so that master plan was done well.
that's right, I was just clarifying that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to get that.
Mr. Garland, we want you to check on this, please. See what's going on early in the morning.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Thank you
council.
so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Garland, it might also be time for you to perhaps start putting together a proposal where we take another look at what needs to be done and how much it would cost to get some of this stuff engineered,
Yeah.
even if we can't go forward with everything just because of the extreme cost of stormwater, to at least identify where our problems are and how they would be resolved.
I agree with that. The GIS program that we discussed in the work session,
Yeah,
if we could get that going and start at least mapping out, our areas and include the areas that were left out of the stormwater master plan, like that area and the other side of the Swift Creek, go a long ways. And then we can at least start using the HVAC from the center of the town, maybe work it down from one of the pipes to the outlets up.
Well, as far as, the stormwater master plan is concerned, if I remember correctly, we discussed this 6 months ago. As we were gonna go back in, and Ms. Latham was supposed to present something else to this council 6 months ago. And the council itself didn't follow up on it. So I'm not gonna say, and let it be blamed on Ms. Latham, who created the stormwater master plan.
So
Mr. Garland was supposed to get with Ms. Latham, and she was supposed to come back again and add and improve the storm master plan. The council did not follow through.
I'm not familiar with that. I am
I don't-
We
familiar.
had that
I don't
meeting?
remember that meeting either.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
I'll find the minutes and show it to you, we had that meeting.
at that meeting.
It will be looked after. New business, the mayor's award. I took it upon myself to get certain things for people, and this particular person has, even though they're not in the city, they have done great things for the city of Darlington. So when they have something, Darlington gets a little bit of it, the revenue. And this person is here tonight, and I want to give him something, and also I want to give him a key to the city. The Mayor's Award, August the 6th, 2019, presented to blank, President blank. Thank you for all of your outstanding service. We appreciate all of your hard work and dedication. And with this key to the city, you come into our city quite a few times. In fact, all the time. Every time I see you, got a smile for me. And if you know who you are, I want you to come on up.
Oh, boy.
Do you know who you are? Do you know who you are?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, come on down. I'm gonna make it you.
Wow. You almost had a short list.
I think you, in fact, I know you have done a marvelous job with the racetrack.
Well, thank you.
Even though it's in the county, I feel it's the city.
Well, I appreciate
Because
that
you
very,
promote
very much.
things, you promote businesses in the city,
Thank you.
and I want to thank you. We want to thank you for everything that you have done.
Well, thank you.
Now, this one is from me.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
And this is from the city of Darlington. You keep coming to the city and open up all the doors.
I will. I appreciate
And keep
this very
continuing to
much.
help us
Thank
make
you.
Darlington the pearl of the PD.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Can I say something?
Yeah, that's why I want you to talk.
Okay.
I want you to talk for a little bit.
I ain't never met a Mike I didn't like. God is it, man. You're a fun man. Mayor and City Council and Mr. Garland, appreciate this very, very much. You know, the racetrack is Darlington, and city, county, whatever. It's part of this community. And I came into this community and I see my wife down back there, my lovely wife. I came into this community a little over 3 years ago, and I have absolutely loved it. I love living in Darlington. I'm committed to Darlington, and you know, I love the people of this community. And you know, this racetrack over here has been around a long time. It'd be the 70th run in the Bojangles Southern 500 coming up in about 3.5 weeks. It's a long time, and it's going to be here another 70 years. Trust me. And but I'm just proud to be a part of this great community, of this great racetrack. Today, we had a great event at the racetrack.
Yes.
And we have Bubba Wallace, who drives a number 43 car, African-American driver.
Amen.
We had Kyle Petty, and we had Richard Petty in Darlington today. Richard Petty was at Darlington. He showed me where he crashed and fell out of the car over there. So we had some big news coming out of Darlington today, and it was all over the country, all over the country. And you know, that's what we like. We like to bring positive reflection on our community. And so in about 25 days, we're going to have a bunch of people ascend on Darlington. We'll have 60,000, 70,000 people coming in here from all over the country, all over the world. And they look at our place and they smile. And when we come and we put that race on over there, that gives us a lot of pride, knowing that this is a community event. I can't thank you enough for this. This is very humbling, very, I don't know, I'm just very, very honored. And I remember coming in here right after I got the job and speaking to this council and told them how excited I was about being in Darlington, and that excitement has only tripled. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you at the race. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Darlington County.
Mayor, I know this is out of order, and if I would ask permission to just, for 2 minutes, to just straighten up something about the stormwater master plan, because I think some of our citizens, perhaps some of the council persons, are under misimpression. That was a stormwater master plan. It was not a design for any stormwater projects or any stormwater section. The intent of that plan was to show a roadmap for how the city would go about tackling, managing stormwater within the city limits. It broke the entire city into 4 quadrants. It then prioritized which one of those quadrants the city should focus its resources on in designing projects to correct flooding. It was never intended to be a design because it wasn't. Within that plan, it also did what Councilman Millings is recommending. It gave a rough cost estimate for how much it would cost the city over time to tackle hiring an engineer and designing projects. That was the whole purpose of that. So what the city then proceeded to do, based on that plan, was now hire engineers and design stormwater projects in southwest and southeast Darlington, which was the priority areas because everything is draining from north to south. So I just wanted to clear that up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Janney, may I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Did you said the stormwater master plan included the entire city.
Exactly.
So why can't I find anything on the other side of Swift Creek from where I'm sitting now? For instance, I can't find the Country Club or Medford neighborhood or Oakdale or any of those neighborhoods
Because it was
in
not
the map at all.
because it was not designed, okay?
But you said it included the whole
If
city.
you let me finish, please.
My apologies.
It was not designed to go neighborhood by neighborhood. It was designed to look at the entire city, break the city up into 4 quadrants, which included the entire city. And then from that, look at laying out a plan, not a design.
May I?
And from that plan, then the city could hire engineers to design specific projects in specific areas to look at specific flooding areas. It also said in that plan that the city needed to develop a comprehensive maintenance plan. With that maintenance plan, the city would then do what the city is doing now. Secure the equipment, come up with a comprehensive maintenance plan, and comprehensively, section by section throughout the entire city, begin to clean out our ditches, clean out our pipelines. But this misconception, is really something that I think we need to really clear up.
Well, my apologies. Maybe I misspoke. I guess what I should ask is, how can a plan cover the whole city when the map or plan doesn't have the whole city included? And what I mean by that is anything that's on the opposite side of Swift Creek from where I am, the Medford area of our town, which is a large part of our city, the Country Club and Oakdale part of our town, which is a large part of our city, is not even in there anywhere.
I think Councilman,
Gardner.
I think you looked at 1 or 2 maps and did not read,
And Mr. Gardner.
Mr. Gardner,
We are
1 or
not,
2
we are
maps.
not on this issue tonight.
I
And I think
understand.
it's important to address it. But we approved an agenda that had certain items on it, so I think we need to move to the agenda and give you an opportunity to come back and get on the agenda so that we can address it properly at that time. And Ms. Latham, if you will, work with Mr. Garland so that you can get yourself a set amount of time and make your presentation that you want to make. And the agenda can be developed so that the time that you need can be afforded to you, and Mr. Gardner or anybody else who has a question would have a chance to question. I don't want to get us bogged down tonight in addressing something that's not on the agenda.
I understand. I appreciate that. But Councilwoman Backus is correct. the council did decide but never followed through with what was supposed to be a working session so that we could go over this in detail so that the citizens of Darlington really have a clear understanding of what that plan does and does not do.
It really needs to be cleared up, even though it was not on the agenda. I let her speak because it was brought up, and we don't want the citizens misinformed about what's going on. So we will have you back to bring it up again. Darlington Country Club, Southern 500 Golf Tournament funding request. Mr. Mrs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm writing this letter to the Honorable Gloria Hines, Mayor, and the council, and I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. We are writing today seeking financial support for the Southern 500 Golf Tournament hosted by the Darlington Country Club. Each year, DCC sponsors the Southern 500 Golf Tournament, which has been an annual tradition for 54 consecutive years. This historic tradition draws approximately 150 golfers from across the Southeast, many of which bring their families to enjoy the numerous amenities that we have to offer. The tournament requires additional staffing for DCC and attracts over 400 visitors to the tournament, which is a 3-day event from August the 23rd to the 25th. In 2018, the approximate cost of the tournament was $35,000, which covered salaries for temporary staffing, prizes, as well as administrative and food costs. We try to offset this financial burden by relying on donations and sponsorships, of which our community does an excellent job. We are requesting $7,500 from the City of Darlington Hospitality Tax Fund to help support this event. Donations and sponsorships allow DCC to improve the quality of the tournament and provide athletic scholarships for young golfers. We respectfully ask that you consider the number of people our tournament brings to Darlington when deciding if we should receive hospitality tax funds. Thank you for your consideration on this request. Any questions?
Any questions from anybody? When is it?
I didn't hear you.
When is the tournament?
The 23rd to the 25th of this month.
Of this month?
Yes, ma'am.
What y'all think about that?
Like y'all to do it.
7,500?
Well, at least 5.
5.
I was thinking 5,000.
5,000. Mr. Goff? Dr. Money?
We've given out $15,000 for the Freedom Fest.
Okay.
We gave $10,000 out to the Veterans Memorial. We gave $5,000 for the folks that have the Cotton Memorial at the corner of Cleveland and Pearl. That's the money we've given out this year, so the $5,000 will be in line.
Well, let me say this. You're doing a marvelous job out there too.
Well, thank you.
I thought it was on the wrong road. It looks so good.
We're getting there.
You're doing a marvelous job out there. Can somebody make this motion?
I'll motion that we approve $5,000 for the tournament with the Darlington Country Club.
I second.
Okay, the property motion that we give the Darlington Country Club $5,000. All in favor? Let them know say aye.
Aye.
Ladies have the same right? Motion carries.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all for everything y'all are doing.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
You do a great job. Okay. D, ordinance 2019-18, special property tax assessment for rehabilitation of historic properties. Mr. Goff?
I think someone's going to
Somebody-
recuse themselves.
Huh?
I think someone's going to recuse themselves, so we may need to announce that.
Right, you announced that, okay. Who's good? Mr. Seeger? And Diddy?
Yes.
Both of y'all?
Yes, ma'am, I'm a member of the Darlington Country Club. I just don't think I ought to be voting on city money for an organization that I'm a member of.
Oh, so I can't, I got
I am not a member. Wish I was. Don't be offended.
You can be.
Well, you can.
Just got a new house, a new wedding.
It's still passed. okay?
I'm ready to finish.
You ready? Y'all finished? Okay.
Recently, we were approached by, City of Hartsville to look at something called a Bailey bill, which is a special property tax assessment for rehabilitated historic properties, that could be commercial or residential. We have 5 historic districts in Darlington that are over 100 properties are a part of, and what we're proposing with this ordinance is that if someone improves their commercial, historical, or commercial residential property, that the property taxes will be froze, and that would be a benefit for them to come into Darlington and improve their residential historical structure or their commercial historical structure. And for this to work out, we have to have approval from the school district, Darlington County Council, Darlington City Council, Society Hill Town Council, Lamar Town Council. Everyone has to be involved so that the tax breaks are equal for everyone. So, we're trying to do all this at one time, and it's another incentive to beautify our historic commercial and residential buildings. As you know, we had a gentleman come a few months ago, before our city council and complained about the house that was next to him in the Lawrence Reese Historic District, West Pearl District. Said it looked really bad, needs to be fixed up. This is one of the ways we're trying to approach that. We're also working on a partnership with the State Historical Preservation Agency to come in and look at some of these historical buildings that are so run down. And we're hoping that they'll adopt some of these buildings and advertise them for us nationally, so folks will come in maybe with some money and rehab our historic buildings in this town. But this is the first step toward that tonight, is the special property tax assessment for rehabilitated historic property.
Does everybody have to approve, Lamar and?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
about what I'm gonna approve?
The only thing I had when I reviewed this thing, and I looked at the drafts that you had included, and both the one coming from Richland County and the one that was designated Hartsville have sections in it that address eligible rehabilitation and eligibility requirements, eligible properties, but we did not have either of those sections contained in the proposed ordinance.
We already have eligible structures in historic districts. I don't think Hartsville has the same historic district structure that we have. While they have a Centennial Commercial Downtown District, the Hartsville historic districts are local in nature and state. So that's where we already have those properties listed individually or as a part of a group such as the West Broad Historic District or the Catherine Spring Street Historic District or the East Broad
Is such a
Industrial District.
designation contained within our ordinance, so if somebody is looking
Yes, it is.
to see the eligible
Yes, sir.
properties, we've got it? Okay, and do we have the, something that describes the same as what's done in Richland County and Hartsville about the eligible, rehabilitation?
Well, eventually this would have to go through the Landmark Commission for their approval, just like any other building permits. As far as the tax credits are concerned, I think that has to be approved at the local, state, and then the federal level. All this does is freeze the property taxes, if I'm understanding your question correctly,
Well,
for 10 years.
Section 23-63 of Richland County just says standards for rehabilitation. And there's a similar section in the Hartsville. And I just didn't see these sections, so I'm just answering the question now to see if there's anything further we need to do as we are looking. I mean, we can make adjustments if necessary before a second reading, but I just bring this to your attention so you can double check it to be sure that we don't miss something and stop our
But
plate.
it is a rather complicated ordinance, yes, sir, I understand.
So we will hear something from it again.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
We feel like this is an important step towards rehabbing these residential and commercial properties. We have plenty of residential properties and commercial properties that are sitting empty, and the owners live out of town. Y'all heard, council members, I know you've heard this dozens of times. They live out of state, live in New Jersey, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, out of sight, out of mind. We call these folks up, it's not really on the top of their list of things to do. So this is one more step to encourage them to either sell their property or to actually improve those properties.
How many commercial properties do you
So
have in
this-
this?
We have two commercial historic districts. One is the East Broad Historical District, and that's approximately 10 properties. And then the historic district that we have on parts of the public square, which includes the south side and the west side, and also some properties on Exchange and Ward Street. So that's probably about 30 properties. The rest are all residential properties.
Okay, so
Make a motion that we.
this special property tax will be just on those, the historic property.
Just
Councilman
historic
Miller?
property, nothing else.
Is that nothing else?
Just historic, residential and, commercial. Not resident, regular resident.
Councilman Millie, your concerns looking at it?
Well, we got to have two readings
They
on
have
it.
two readings on it.
So I don't mind going forward with the first reading and just have them dot their i's and cross their t's and check things out. Be sure we've got a complete ordinance when we pass it.
So can I get a motion to approve the song?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2019-18 special property tax assessment for rehabilitated historic properties.
I'll second.
It's been properly motion and second that we, vote on the ordinance 2019-18 special property tax assessment for rehabilitated historic properties. All in favor? You want to say aye? Please have the same right. Motion carries. Okay, E, orders 2019 fire department cost recovery order. Want to talk about that?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you. What you have in front of you is, over the past year and a half, I've been periodically visiting you folks, going to update you on something we can do to help throw a little bit of money back in. Like I said, what you have is one of the finished products that our City Attorney Kevin Etheridge has worked very hard with us and come up with some good wording and we think an ordinance that will work for us. Just to reiterate, this is something that's not going to make $10 million. This is just something put in place if we have a tanker overturn and we do have a spill and we do use a lot of stuff. It's a way to recoup some costs back from the insurance company so we don't exhaust all the resources and drain our budget. Proud to entertain any questions if you got about it.
I think this is something you discussed with us before.
Yes, twice.
Brian?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion that we approve the ordinance 2019-20, or -19 fire department cost recovery ordinance.
A second.
It has been motion and second that we receive the orders 2019-19 fire department cost recovery orders. All in favor, let the number sign aye. Nays have the same right, motion carries.
Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Order 2019-20 false alarm orders and preventions. Chief?
Hey, good evening, and first let me apologize for the way that I'm dressed. We've got, I'm pulling double duty tonight. We've got National Night Out, and I had to do this presentation to you all as well. And so I apologize in advance for not being able to stick around with you all tonight and greet you as I normally do, because I got to get back down to National Night Out. A few weeks ago, we had a particular business here in town that within a week, within about a 7-day period, we had 9 false alarm calls to that business, and they were fire alarm calls. And each time, we received that phone call, we dispatched fire personnel as well as law enforcement personnel. In one particular call, there was an actual fire at another location while we were responding to that false alarm. And so one of the things that we discussed doing, I spoke with Assistant Chief Davis and I spoke with Chief Kavanaugh about it, and the city manager and I, we've met and we've discussed it. There's nothing in place here in the city of Darlington to help people remember that they need to get these false alarms repaired quickly. And so what we want to do is put an ordinance in place that after the third and subsequent false alarm within a 30-day period, they're going to be assessed a fee for it.
Yep.
I mean, those are valuable resources that the city is putting into, is having to put into use to respond to these calls. And a lot of times, all the business owner or the residence owner has to do is just call the alarm company and get them to come out and repair it. I mean, obviously, we'll be, we will work with people if they can show us that they have called the alarm company, that they've made some attempt to get the alarm company out there to make the necessary repairs. If the alarm still continues to go off, we'll work with those folks in situations like that. But this particular business here in town the other week, 9 calls within a 7-day period. That's a bit ridiculous. And I mean, each time we're sending a fire truck out there, our on-duty personnel, as well as our volunteer firemen responding to those calls. And our police personnel is responding. And that's a lot of resources that we're sending for a false alarm.
Do we need to have a provision in it for collection? Notice there's a dollar amount if they fail to do it, but we don't have any way to enforce it. There's no